Welcome to Going In Blind. I'm your host, Zach Tidwell, and today I'm speaking with founder and chief eruption officer at LavaBox, Josh Thurmond. And to everyone at home, thank you for listening. Please take a second to help me grow the show so that I can keep delivering these conversations week after week for years to come. Subscribe, rate, and review the show in whatever podcasting app you're using right now, and check out the show notes to follow me on social media and YouTube as well. When you share your favorite episodes, tag me and use the hashtag GoingInBlind. You can also join my mailing list at zachtidwell.net. And if you know someone you think I should talk to, have them send me an email at contact.goinginblind@gmail.com. Yeah, man, you were just telling me how you're calling in from your nice resort vacation home. So I appreciate you taking the time from the beach to come on here.
Always. It's a super glamorous life as an entrepreneur like me.
Yeah. People have heard this in the intro, but I want to add a little more context to this because I keep those intros real short. This is truly, you and I met several years ago. I think it was like right after I lost my sight, but you had just started LavaBox. Now, since then, you have been on Shark Tank, had got a deal while you were on Shark Tank. I found out today we're on another reality show. I've seen your business just blowing up everywhere. You recently trademarked the brand, correct?
It is true. I trademarked the original ammo can fire pit only because we were the first one to the market, so we were able to trademark that.
Okay.
Obviously, we've been building fires and 50 cal ammo cans for a long time, but this was the first one that was a burner and propane and was a true company building them instead of somebody, in the jungle of Vietnam.
And I want to drive home. You literally started this out of your garage. This is what the American dream is pictured to be, and that's what people chase. People come here from all around the world to chase what you've accomplished. And it feels wild saying that, but it totally is. And I want to just dig into all of it and where everything has gone from probably 5 years ago when I saw you and we shot it was in a parking lot, freezing cold in the middle of winter, and shot a little commercial that you were going to put up, and now you've made it, man, and are continuing to explode. So do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. And when we shot that video, I had sold like 40 units. Almost 5 years ago. I guess, it was pretty close. I had sold about 40 units and of course I made my first, as you mentioned, first 500 or so in my garage. But to those who don't know, I make a portable campfire that passes stage 2 fire restrictions. They're originally made out of 50 cal ammo cans and then 20 millimeter rocket boxes. And what made them distinct is that they made a ridiculously big flame. So a 4 foot tall flame comes out of the box because I wanted something that was actually hot, actually worked, not like those piece of shit circular pits you get on Amazon. So I went home, made 7 burners. I was actually on a trip, on a paddling trip. I don't know if you know this, but I was on a paddling trip and I was teaching paddling for the Colorado Whitewater Association. It's really cold. And I said, man, I'm going to make something better than these round pits. We had a few of them and you only could burn propane during the fire ban. So I was like, I'm going to make this pit. Went home, built 7 prototypes, literally put up a website like 2 days later and sold the first 40 right away. Proof of concept was there. I am not a businessman. So I guess I am now, but
you definitely are now, dude.
Definitely am now.
Everything that I see you putting out constantly is and it's basically, I go on Facebook basically to promote stuff that I'm doing or stuff that I've done. And every time I go on there, it seems like there's something new. Not only like not just that you have made more content, but it is a new like big announcement of something that's happening. I seriously I don't understand how you're able to keep up with it. It seems just stupid from the outside looking in.
The pace is crazy. It's just stupid on the inside, mostly because I'm in charge of the circus. but
Yeah.
it's, yeah, man, there's like we I didn't know what was going to happen, and about 4 months in, I realized that we had a real business. I told my wife that I had to quit my job. I was working at the National Sports Center for the Disabled. Like I said, running programs for people with disabilities, mostly vets. Um, and then, yeah, I quit my job and said, this is it. I got 2 forearm tattoos that, that said, I'm not ever
Just
going back. I
wait,
know
did
it's
you
just,
really?
I really did.
That's so funny. There's a dude that was in my platoon in the Marines. You probably don't remember. I was a machine gunner, so it was
We,
my platoon was all machine gunners and anti-tank missilemen. But it was a big dude like you. He's like 6'3". He's a competes in powerlifting now, but he got heavy guns tattooed across his forearms. And I was like, you realize you can't get a job anywhere else now, right? Like you're committed to this life.
that was the plan, baby. That was the plan. I just said,
Wow,
fuck it. So I got these 2 huge tattoos on my forearms, and I'm never going back, man. This is it. So,
that is so wild. The next, like the only other thing you could have done is gotten fuck a job put on your face
hey,
or something.
yeah, neck
Yeah.
tattoo, stitches, good stitches or something. That would have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Wow.
went all the way in, and from there I got knocked off pretty early on. Obviously, it was a cool idea. People really liked it, and I was really stoked about that part. But everybody was like, "Man, I'm going to copy you." Lots of knockoffs came out, but a really big one. I won't mention who they are, but a really big name at the in REI knocked us off right away. Took my patent and literally copied it directly
It was
from my
already
drawings.
patented.
The initial drawings were out in the world.
Wow.
So
Okay.
patent it was a provisional patent, so it wasn't quite there yet. And yeah, and the guy copied exactly kind of corporate espionage, stole the patent ideas, and then made the exact product. And that is actually what was the impetus for Shark Tank. Because I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't really a business guy. Didn't think I ever had a head for it, and then realized that I had to have a head for it. It's like I gotta figure this shit out. And so I applied to Shark Tank, asked them to have me on. I didn't have enough sales, and at the time it was probably about $200,000 in sales, which for a brand new startup that I'd never done anything with, and no expectations, I was like, wow, we're doing all right for a year in. And
Seems pretty damn good to me. Yeah.
yeah, it was enough to quit my job and have to do it full time. But I mean, we're talking about at that point, I was still like borrowing a guy's house who had an unfinished basement. And that was my paint booth. I was importing cans from all over the place, new cans, because I found out that a bunch of cans had full of lead. Of course, I mean, especially
Yeah.
Vietnam era cans.
Well, and
So I had to
let's
start over.
pause for a little bit when just so people at home realize when he's saying ammo cans, he literally means so like in the military, ammunition comes in these olive drab green cans and of varying different sizes. They're like steel cans and that is literally what you've turned into these fire pits. It's not this isn't some crap you're throwing together. I mean, I guess you are, but from real ammo cans, and you've engineered it
Yeah,
out of that. So this is industrial military paint that has some of these cans have
that's
probably
right.
had ammunition in them at some point. They're being sold secondhand.
Like most of them, I'd say
Yeah.
the bulk have had ammunition in them, and let's not forget that almost all of them were manufactured somewhere in Asia with really bad paint. So they
Yeah.
definitely were never meant to be burned.
Yeah.
Um, so I was stripping them with super high grade strippers. It always comes back to strippers.
I
And
do
then
love high grade strippers. Yeah.
who doesn't? Well, it's like, so I realized after I got the Safety Certification Association was like, you've got cans that have lead, you can't sell them, no problem. And I mean, I'm sure we'll touch on it, but every single thing was a huge like wall I hit. Getting knocked off by a big corporation right away, fucking crazy wall. Having all the cans have full of lead and have to source new cans, crazy wall that probably would have put most companies under, I think. But I got the tattoo, so I wasn't gonna fucking quit.
You didn't have the
Um,
choice. Yeah. You should be
and
less proud of what you've accomplished because you didn't have a choice. You had to do it. Yeah.
correct. I recommend everybody get job killer tattoos. That's the option. So
Yeah.
yeah. So then yeah, so I started finally getting brand new cans. We did all the assembly here in the US. And then my goal at that point was like, wow, I have a real business. I was making new products. And then Shark Tank finally called and they said, we don't want you. You don't have enough sales. And honestly, I thought, oh man, I thought I was right on the, like I'd be the perfect person. And they turned me down. And then about, I don't know, a week later, they called me back and they said, we made a mistake. We now realize which product is yours. We don't want you this year, but we're going to call you next year and you have to come back and you have to say yes. And I said, fuck yeah, I'm going to say yes. What are you talking about? Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I mean, by that time, to be totally transparent, we had already broke our first 7-figure number.
Wow.
Really exciting. Yeah, kind of crazy to go in 2 years to go to that. Didn't seem real. And oh no, I forgot. My lights just went off, but I forgot we're only doing audio. So yeah, there was kind of like a very surreal moment there. They're like, well, where are you now? And I said, well, we're over $1 million in sales. And they said, you got to be on our show. So of course I went on the show. It was fantastic. I'm sure we can dig in deeper if you want to know about that. But
Absolutely.
and from there, it just was about refining our SOPs, refining our business. I was learning. And one of the long stories short, I didn't get exactly what I was looking for on Shark Tank, but I did find that thing last week on that reality show that I was on. So that's kind of the story of the business. We have done one thing that was really important that I want to touch on too, I guess. One is that we were the founding members of a nonprofit called Protect Our Rivers. So it's our nonprofit that we do river cleanups all over the country. And our shop is going to be run, and now currently is run by only people with disabilities.
No
So
way.
yes way. So
Wow.
especially on Thursdays, we have folks come in with intellectual disabilities and they put together boxes and build stuff. And my goal is, because of the nature of the final assembly parts of the last, kind of last mile of the build of LavaBox, I made it so if you did have diminished hand control, if you didn't have the cognition to do it, to do something more complex, you were able to still contribute and work at the shop and have somewhere to go. And so that's kind of my big push now, is to figure out how to make that model work, but still be able to put out, because at this point we've sold about 17,000 lava boxes.
Jesus,
Sounds
dude.
crazy. It sounds crazy coming out of my fucking mouth. But yeah, so now we have to figure out how to keep that at scale.
There's so many things. Obviously, you just laid the groundwork for so many things for us to go into. But I'm excited. My middle sister has Down syndrome. I'm gonna have to show her this because
I
she
know
always
it.
talks about wanting to be a barista, and I'm like, there's other stuff you can do too. Just there's other stuff out there, and she's a goober. But just that's interesting. Before I forget, I wanted to ask you, by the time you passed $1 billion in sales, was it still just you doing it out of this basement?
I had friends from like the boating community helping me build stuff. I moved into, so my friend owns Confluence Kayaks in Denver, great kayak shop. And he had a little space in this really disgusting former slaughterhouse for the National Western Stock Show here in Denver.
Uh-huh.
And he said, do you want a little corner of it? And I'm like, yeah, man, I got to get out of the garage. Like I couldn't fit in anything. And I had a storage unit where I kept a lot of the raw materials. And I was still building all the burners by hand. So I was literally putting them in a vise, bending tubes, cutting holes, the whole thing. And then yeah, he said, you could take my spot. And at that same time, I'd finally worked out with manufacturers how to actually get the pipes bent and some of the like washers and components done. And I wanted things that were really specialized. And like I said, I wanted to be really easy to do. It was always about streamlining the processes. And that's kind of just my brain in general. And so it was like, how do I make this smarter, faster, better? And like our motto is innovate, solve problems, and keep going. That's our core tenets of our company, and that was part of the build as well. And so we moved into this shithole, and we're still here actually.
No way. So for
You're welcome to come for a tour.
yeah, for people at the beginning, when I said that something about you call it in from your mansion or whatever, that's Josh had told me right before we started recording. He's like, "Yeah, I'm sitting here in the shop and it's 51 degrees in here and I'm freezing my ass off, but this is the real deal. Like this is where this shit happens." That
It is
is
crazy. I mean, it's
wow.
like holes in the floor, ceiling falling in. There's definitely dead people in the basement. I mean, it's a wild place. But if for real, there are like meat hooks and places where it says, hang your aprons and knives here, and it's a real
Uh,
slaughterhouse.
it's like a Saw movie.
It's really sketchy. Actually, they had a ghost hunters thing they filmed here. They filmed a like a zombie heavy metal movie here while I was here.
Jeez. That is okay. Yeah, that's definitely like giving me a picture of everything. That is
But if
so
you can imagine, it's subway tiles, like the whole thing is subway tiles with big steel doors because it's these massive, massive steel doors because everything is refrigerated.
yeah.
And so it's like a giant refrigerator. And right now, ambient air temperature in here with the heater on is 51. So not great.
Does I
Fabulous.
had it been shut down for a while when you guys moved in there, or was it like,
So
hey, you can have this space and you also have to clean this out?
I don't know the year it opened, but it shut down in 1968. And the only reason I know that is because all of the GIs who are cutting meat from the Air Force Academy up here would get provisions, move them down to the Air Force Academy, and they all stamped the wall or they signed it, and they signed like Tidwell 68, I am happy, the kill
Yeah,
foreclosed, and all this kind of stuff. So it's really interesting. It's a cool
that
building.
yeah, a lot of history there. Eerie history with the
Yeah,
fact that it's
really
a
eerie history.
death house, but wow. So today, how many people are part of the operation? It seems
Sure.
like from everything that I've seen, it seems like you run all the social media stuff, which is also wild because that is so time consuming on top of everything else.
I like the social media part. That's probably why I hold on to a lot of it. I do have somebody who does uh what's it called? They do like our newsletters and all of our communications on that end. She does a lot of copywriting. She's fantastic. And then right now we lay off all of our builders for the next couple of months. Normally we have 2 or 3 people in here building boxes, filling orders, that sort of stuff. But it's we don't sell a ton of lava boxes in the wintertime, although we probably won't survive next year by doing this, but it's just a cost cutting piece of it. But then of course I have teams who do finance and all that stuff. So we built up quite a group and our people with disabilities. We have a new guy starting tomorrow who has autism.
Wow. That
That's a
is
pretty
so
good
cool, man.
operation. We run it very, very lean. I've made the whole thing revolve around the Toyota, on-demand kind of manufacturing. Everything kind of happens, at the last minute, and that way I keep things super, super lean. We can be really really watch our spending, and we don't get, over a barrel with inventory. So it's all last minute. That's why we do run out of stuff occasionally, but it's better to run out than to have too much.
And then yeah, because then you have money that's locked up in that inventory.
That's right.
Okay. And
Exactly.
so when you realize, oh shit, we're getting low or we are out, you call up your team and get them in for another run.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually we keep pretty close tabs on inventory. Although we're about to take another big step. Like I said, we are we're trying to do a 10x kind of order of magnitude step. We've brought in a new sales director who will really go after retailers, and that's going to change the way we do everything. We might even have to bring in an investor. I still own 100% of the company, but we may have to bring in somebody to kind of pull in some cash because it's about to take another giant leap, and hopefully we'll go from 7 figures to 8.
That is a wild thought, dude. I mean, that is an unfathomable number to basically everyone that's gonna listen to this, you know? That
I
is
got to
so
think
great.
that way, like we're still so
Yeah.
small, and I'm here literally here building boxes, but I have to believe that's where we're headed. You know, it's hard to get up in the morning and just say, all right, we're gonna be happy with 700,000 in annual this year. You know, I have to say I'm gonna be something bigger than that.
Yeah, like why stop there? If you had that mindset, you wouldn't have built it to where you are right now. So that's a
I'm all about
necessity.
changing the world. You know,
Yeah.
I want people to see it and be like, this guy. Our ultimate goal is to slow down wildfires. So the more people adopt this product and go, man, it's a fucking flamethrower in a box, and I love it. I don't have to have a wood fire, the better. I mean, I love wood fires, as you know. That's all my whole life is revolved around guiding and being out in the woods and having fires and burning shit down. But we still all have to change, you know.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things I wanted to mention because I feel like we skimmed over it a little in the beginning because there was so much to cover in the overview. But I, I've thought about this as I've gotten to kind of keep tabs on you over the past couple of years. Like outside of drive and obviously you executing well here, I would imagine a lot of that fuel for you is, I mean, this is a product that you hear this a lot with successful companies where, unless it's, a tech billionaire starting something that's
Yeah.
their 12th company, this was a product that you believed in and you wanted and you brought it to fruition. And obviously you weren't just you saw the need there for it and you filled that need. But again, it does come back to the fact that this was something that you wanted out there and it has carried you through. And
Yeah. Yeah. I've tried to, I actually never told you this, but I've tried to bring other products to the market. So this wasn't my first. I've failed a bunch of times, missed some big ones. Speaking of tech, but this one, it might have been the simplest thing I ever made, but it was like maybe one of the most important and actually useful. I feel like some of the other stuff was all right. I tried to build an app one time before apps were an app. 2001, I built some software for the OnStar system for vehicles that helped you book travel. And do you know OnStar? Do you remember
yeah,
this?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's I'm sitting here like I know you've gone down 20 different paths professionally, but I didn't know you were a developer too. That is wild.
I mean, you know, my then girlfriend and I had this vision of having this system that allowed you to book reservations to do outdoor adventures and cabins and that sort of stuff from the OnStar system. We called it Outdoor Atlas. We pitched Ford, and Ford immediately was like, "That's a great idea. We'll just take it."
That's about right.
So it was a major miss. You know, when the dot-com boom was happening, we thought we were gonna do it, and it didn't work out. I wrote a treatment for a TV show once. I won't say what it was, but they definitely just ran with it. I'm not very good at protecting the IP. There's a theme here.
Well, that's
No,
also
but I learned
just
some,
people being shitty. I mean, that's
I'm pretty nice, but
yeah.
about things. But I'll tell you this: I people are always ask me about IP, and actually, I was the keynote speaker at the patent office this year for their big symposium, and they invited me to come and be their speaker, and it was really funny because they asked some questions that were really hard for me to answer honestly, but I did. You know, some people ask like, "What's the value of a patent? What's the value of IP?" In the larger scheme of things, and it's hard to not say. I mean, it's so easy for companies to manipulate IP in a way that feels like theft that it's hard not to say, "Fuck it, man! I'm just going to compete." And that's what I did to the guy who knocked off LavaBox right away. I saw him and I said, "Now I have to fucking destroy you." Like maybe we could have worked out something and worked together as two companies, but the fact that you copied me directly, I'm not going to litigate against you. I don't want to lose a million, or maybe I'll win, but I'll have spent $1 million doing it. It'll bury my company. I'm not going to do it. A friend of mine has a company called Sea Sucker, and they make rooftop suction cup roof racks. And
Hmm.
he's like, man, just destroy them in the marketplace. Just be better than them. And I think it's real. Like all this litigation and lawyers and bullshit. is A, not my style. I'd much rather fight somebody face to face.
Well, that's
B,
not realistic.
it's really not. It's really not. There, if you're a big company, you can do it. And you're talking about, big IP companies or big, software developers or those guys who have that kind of capital, sure. But me and you, we got to fight in the field, and we have to fight them face to face, and it's just the way it is.
Well, and I guarantee you, he knew that ripping you off. And
Oh yeah, he came. Oh, he told me to come after him.
well, it's too bad you're married because like the next step in that would have been to bang his girlfriend afterwards,
Yeah,
really assert your
I
dominance.
maybe so. I think she's really old.
Oh, okay. No, maybe you just let him keep it. But
He was like a VC in a past life, so he was a venture capitalist in the past life, and then in the outdoor space, he had a lot of savvy. I mean, he just was somebody that was a much a much better operator than I was at the time.
on the business
But
front.
now I've learned I've learned a lot, and I've definitely learned one important lesson, which is fuck these guys. I'm going to just go after them, just straight into them. And that's the
I
only
love
way.
that, man. I mean, that's unfortunately, I'm sure there's probably, 10 small businesses to every one that, does succeed through that. There's probably 10 that
Yeah,
do have their ideas stripped away and stolen by some uncreative asshole who's just trying to make money. And like, yeah, I get that. You're trying to make a living, but that is a gross reality of things.
yeah.
And
My friend said yesterday it's R&D, research and duplicate.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like,
I mean, obviously, if your idea was taken by like Ford, and even that the TV idea was taken by a real company, like that is obviously the status quo with these things, which is very, very unfortunate. But
I
with
did,
all of
I will tell you though, like I wanted to, I didn't want to give up on this one. I mean, it definitely could have, right? Like we got knocked off by a bunch, and then the big companies like Camp Chef and all those guys came out with their Fire Cube, and they're like, we really changed the landscape of all fire pitch, which was very cool, but not great for where I was in the market.
yeah,
And I could have quit, but I was like, if even if I, I guess I didn't have these big aspirations to be a multi-million-dollar company, but I had to think that way because otherwise I was just like, man, I could trickle along and maybe I'll survive, but no, I had to think a totally different way.
yeah,
And I thank that guy a little bit. I always, as cheesy as that sounds, I thank him for being a total douche because his company is eating shit right now, and we stayed so lean and so light that we could maneuver quickly through that, and I think we weathered the downturn after COVID better than they did. So
yeah. Well, and
I
that's,
hope.
I mean, everyone listening to this is gonna love to hear that. But let's, you're basically 2 years and $1 million in. You've Shark Tank is coming back around. They're giving you a call, and it's time to get some real airtime. And it sounds like get the real like the first sense of getting some legs under the product in terms of getting it out into the world.
Yeah.
What is that like? What happens? How
Well,
did
you
all that go?
definitely you get high on your own supply. I'll tell you that. I was like, God, I mean, everybody knows who we are, and then you realize that no one knows who you are. 320 million people, whatever, that live in the U.S. And um, so Shark Tank was a pretty important piece of it. It was a very interesting process. Of course, it's all very secretive, lots of NDAs in place, but I
Yeah.
think most of it we can talk about now. So you get connected with a couple of well, first of all, you do a ton of videos and tests and takes and talk about your product and do pitches that they kind of require you to do, and that's great. That's I don't think I'm telling you any secrets here. But after that, you get a couple coaches, and the coaches help you craft it a little more, just to give people a sense of scale. Typically, about 60 to 70,000 people apply, and they whittle it down to 120
For
about
an
that
entire season ish.
for an entire season.
Wow.
So it's a big cut. And the entire time, to their credit, they are very transparent. They say we don't know if you'll ever air, even after you film your show. You don't know. And I think I think it's bold because a lot of people be like, fuck this. If I'm not getting a guarantee, I don't want to do it or that kind of stuff. And the reality is they are very open with you about that. And I have nothing bad to say about Shark Tank. I thought it was great, but there are people who are detractors. I disagree with them. But
Yeah.
anyway, so after a while, you find out if you're actually going to get to go and film, and you go out to LA, and you go out there, and they set you up to do it. They film a bunch of episodes in a row, of course, just like every other TV show. I did fuck up a number of times when I got there. At first, I don't know how it happened, but I walked out of the hotel at the same time some dude who had just stolen a bunch of jewelry was going in, and every cop in LA like almost shot me. So, so,
What?
so that wasn't
I saw
great.
your tattoos. They're like, it has to be the guy with the fuck a job tattoos. Yeah.
So that was pretty wild. I was actually waiting for, they'll laugh, but I was waiting for a fucking Uber. I was waiting for an Uber to pick me up to go get propane tanks because they didn't have any on the set. So I was going to Home Depot to pick up propane tanks in an Uber, and the cops I got a ton of cops and SWAT like came flying into the hotel. I just got down on the ground and was like, put my hands on my head. And
That is so crazy.
the Uber driver was like, "Are they here for you?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Are you sure?"
You're like, yeah, go, 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 go.
Took all my energy not to say go, 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 go. Drive,
Yeah.
man. No, and so of course then everybody at Shark Tank was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right." That's really weird. So I get, they take you onto the set, and you can't even take a shit without somebody standing next to you because they really keep everything under wraps. And so I was riding along with the guy who's my escort, and he says he's like, "Hey, we're driving by the Jeopardy lot and the Wheel of Fortune lot. And I see a giant picture of Alex Trebek, and I was like, oh man, that's my favorite show." And that guy looked me dead in the eye. He's like, "It's not Shark Tank," and I'm like, "Oh fuck." Already blowing it. Damn it. So I
Also,
already
kind of fuck you for saying that. Like, come on, man.
He was definitely messing with me. It was
Yeah.
awesome. So we get so you get on you get over there, and everything you see. I mean, people don't believe this, but it is true, and I have no reason to lie. But there are no takes. The show is exactly what you see. And I think that's the actual magic. I think people think it's like other reality TV show where they're like, "No, let's do that again. Let's say it again." No, there's no fucking around. You stand in front of that door, it opens, you walk out, and you pitch, and if you blow it, you blow it. And it's kind of wild because I don't think there's any other TV that's actually like that. And that's the first time they know you. They don't know anything about you. And I thought that was really cool. I
Yeah.
thought that
It's
was
genuine.
super ballsy.
Well, that's probably why they can't guarantee that you go on there because they're like, hey, you get one shot, and if you fuck it up, we're not putting it on TV. Like,
Of course. Or
there's,
if you don't fuck it up in the right way, right? You gotta do something that's like good TV. And
yeah,
I know people went on there. So I was actually in a group that had two people who pitched and didn't make it on TV. And for whatever reason, and I know there was tears, I know things happened, so I know it was good TV. I don't know what it's good TV, but yeah, they didn't make it.
damn.
So but that shit is real, and people can go and watch the episode. But it's season 14, episode 18. I've actually only seen it a couple of times, which is weird. But you're in there for about an hour. They cut it down to about 7 minutes, and it's an awesome hour. You get to talk to 5 people who are pretty amazing humans. And I kind of was going in for Laurie Greiner from QVC and all that stuff because it was all tactical, of course. I wanted somebody who could do good small product placement, good
Yeah.
advertisements, what I do. And so those were her strengths. So I ended up getting 4 offers and made a deal with Laurie. It's crazy.
Well,
So I had
yeah.
a
And
good
I mean, that feeling of that, like, that has to feel fake when you're there. And that's coming true, especially if it's genuine. And that is actually, there's no retakes. Like, when she offers you that, you accept. That is what happened.
That's what happened.
Wow.
So and it does feel good, man. I have to admit, I practiced so hard because I just wasn't going to be the guy who didn't know the answers. I wasn't going to be the guy who fumbled the pitch. I refuse to be that guy. And I
Well,
think you probably know me well enough now that everything needs to be planned, and like I don't want to fuck shit up. Like even when we went rafting that one time, I made sure we had redundancy. We weren't going to blow it. We probably could have had a seeing guy in the boat too, but it's more fun for 2 blind dudes to.
I would honestly, we still talk about that every time that we see each other, Mike and I do. Like I would love to do that more. And I can actually roll and I paddle whitewater now in a hard shell, but like I would be happy going on a multi-day trip in those little rafts. It was so much
It's so
fun, dude.
fun. It's so fun.
But
I love it. Come up for our Tuesdays. We do like we raft on Tuesdays. We do two
oh,
person.
okay.
Yeah, super fun. Yeah, come up sometime.
I'd be down for that for
But
sure.
but yeah, so after about a year of doing due diligence, we kind of just said like they don't go camping. Nobody on that stage goes camping except for really Damon John. And I probably should have picked Damon, although Damon yelled at me when I was walking out, "You're dead to me, Thurmond," which was,
And
it's pretty great.
I forgot to ask you a couple things here.
Why?
So if you're in there for an hour, obviously they cut it down to 7 minutes, but the rest of that hour, I mean, are they just grilling you with question after
Yeah.
question after question?
Yeah,
Okay.
but like I said, I think if you're not a douchebag, it's very nice.
Yeah.
You know, like we had a great conversation, just chatted. Nothing was confrontational. I mean, I think they wanted gotcha stuff, but I was like, oh no, I'll just tell you the answer. I'm not gonna bullshit you, you know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're here with sales. We're here with our you know, and I told him I fucked up my books a couple of times. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I didn't have a bookkeeper at the time. I didn't have anything. I had two people who built lava boxes, and that was it. And we were doing $1 million in sales. So you can imagine it
Yeah.
was a little bit of a scramble. And so I was just super honest, and just told them what I knew, and they were very cool about it.
Yeah. And the other part, I was curious, and it just made me think of it when you mentioned Damon.
Yeah.
What is there any, did you have any say in which sharks you get to pitch to?
No, you have no idea. And they actually
Wow.
give you the list. And of course, I went and found out everything, their kids' names, everything about them. I watched every single episode of Shark Tank. Um, I trained to know all the answers about their businesses, their families, their work, their personal avatars out there in the world. Everything about them I knew. And so I think that really helped me get a grip on what I wanted and how to interact, you know?
Because then
So
you know them a little bit going into those conversations, even though it's
yeah.
as an outsider, like you still, that's like listening. Like I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast all the time. Like it's, you get to kind of know some stuff about the guy if you listen to him enough.
Yeah.
But
And they're
that's been,
interesting. I mean, these are like
yeah,
people that I definitely admire, you know? I'm like, these people know what they're doing, you know, regardless of what business they're in, even though it doesn't really touch on a lot of the work I do. I was just like, these people are neat people, you know? It was just like this last week. Last week, entrepreneurs are interesting people. I mean, like, of all the people I meet, and I meet so many, I think everybody's really interesting, but I think entrepreneurs are a fascinatingly brave, strange breed of humans who just must love eating shit because it's awful. I mean, it isn't you. There's zero security, zero guarantees. You don't get to go to work and get a paycheck, and it's all great, and you get nothing. And nobody, if you're not in that world, people don't understand. They're like, oh, my job's hard, and you're like, motherfucker, I got to wake up and make sure it happens every single day, no matter what.
well, and something you mentioned
Crazy.
earlier that is another thing you hear successful business owners say is, "Hey, I failed 20 times before I actually had something that took off." That's the other half of that. They, like you said, they must love eating shit because they're first of all, the kind of person that it takes to actually step out and do that just with the risks associated is says enough about a person, but it is that grind of coming back after
Yeah,
something just totally falling apart. I mean, that's why I
you got to
mean,
be bananas. I mean, fucking bananas, because it really could take it all. I mean,
and
every
how can
single
you
one of
not
these
respect it?
metrics. Yeah,
Yeah.
no matter what kind of business or what they are, and I really don't care about their politics or anything else. I still respect the discipline. I respect the bravery, all of those pieces. You just cannot take that away from them. They are brave, crazy fucks. Like, and
Yeah.
some were misguided. I will say that, like, some people don't, maybe there's a narcissism that doesn't let them think about all the consequences, or maybe they do, but they're like, I have to do it. I don't know. I mean, I would ask you the same question. I'd say, like, why did you decide to just take this big jump? Because you have so many talents, and you definitely could just go work somewhere, but that's not what you're doing. You jumped out there. You took
Yeah,
the plunge.
it's, I mean, I think some of that, what you talked about with people, like to come back to the first part of that, I think some of that is people being out of touch and not having enough self-awareness to realize some of
Yeah.
that stuff. That's like the dude who goes on American Idol who can't sing, or
Right.
it's just there's some of that out there, but I don't my I mean with me again, it's I'm doing stuff that I feel is valuable to others and that is going to help people. Just like that's the same thing that's ultimately driving you with LavaBox, and that's that the first business that I made, Dark Horse Game Studios, it won some
Yeah.
awards, but that really floundered and didn't go anywhere. But it has, I've learned through that. And I'll be finished with the second draft of my book here in a couple days. I was just on Dr. Phil yesterday, getting to talk a little bit for some suicide prevention stuff. It was just a short piece that I was in there. Got some other big stuff coming along and speaking stuff. And then this next software project that I'm working on is carrying forward the lessons that I learned from the first one into something that, okay, this is of bigger scope and will hopefully affect more people. And maybe this one will take off. And if it doesn't, I'll figure out another project to build. But it is, again, there's even when it sucks and when I don't want to do it, there's more than just I want to make money off of this. It is
Right.
the underlying thing. And I'm very fortunate I'm taken care of because of my veterans benefit. It absolutely wouldn't be a lavish life, but I could live off of that. But I don't want that. I want more for myself and I want something
Yeah.
that I get purpose out of. And that has always been some sort of service. The Marine Corps was that
Yep.
I willingly joined the Marine Corps infantry. I wanted to be an ER nurse when I got out and started going to nursing school. Couldn't do that after I shot myself. So I started going to school for clinical psychology. And then that is when I was in college after I was blind and saw how inaccessible the digital world was. And I started researching it. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to fix that. And that's this new project that I'm working on is in the education spaces and is going to address some of the issues that I had while I was in college. And yes, it will do all this stuff for people with disabilities, but all these technologies that I'm making will also be stuff that anyone can use. And that's the hope is
Right.
that starts to normalize some of that stuff. Just like I would imagine that's not to put words in your mouth, but with you having disabled employees, like you doing that, whether you're intending to or not, will normalize that for someone else. And that starts to shift the ball forward a little bit, inch by inch. And those actions like that, like you're not getting anything out of that of monetary value. I'm sure intrinsically you were absolutely getting something out of that, or else you wouldn't be doing it. It's something that you find you get it feels good to help other people, but it's again those all of these underlying things, these driving forces are so important but I think that's what every entrepreneur that is not out of touch, like I talked about, is probably, I think that's ultimately, if you got down deep enough, is probably where a lot of that's coming from.
Yeah. I think so. I met so many of those people. It's funny. I would say it was maybe 1% of the people who were in that room that I was in last week. And I was trapped in a hotel for 6 days with these people with 100 and so people in Tulsa. So you got to really like to eat shit when you do that to yourself. It's pretty bad at a casino.
Well,
They can still smoke indoors in casinos
oh my
in
gosh.
Tulsa. Brutal. But anyway, these people were just, I mean, like 1% maybe was the misguided kind of wacky, very unself-aware person. But the rest of them were truly trying to solve problems. Like they were really trying to fix things that were wrong with the world, and they had a passion for it, and they had an intellect and a curiosity that was interesting. And yeah, I felt very lucky. Maybe you should go do that program. It's great. You'd be
I'd lo-
great at
I
it.
I hadn't
You'd be
heard
awesome.
about I would love to, I mean, we can talk more, but I wanted to ask you about your experience with it, but I'd love to pick your brain about it offline too, if you don't care.
Yeah, it was terrific. No, I don't care at all. Of course not.
Okay,
I'm
so
open.
can you set the stage with it a little bit? Because again, I I didn't know
Sure.
you'd been on it. I saw your post on Facebook today. I was going on there to try and promote something else that I did, and I was like, "Holy shit, Josh was on another show."
It's crazy. So it's mostly an incubator or accelerator kind of program. There are a million of them out there, as you know. You can go and do, and maybe your audience doesn't know, but you can go out there and bring a product or an idea, business idea to one of these places, and then they'll kind of shepherd you along a little bit, and they'll take a lot of money, and they'll try to figure out how to make your business work. But this is, first of all, it's run by a very unlikely person who's the former, probably one of the most famous real reality show personalities, Wes Bergman. For those of you, I'm not a huge TV person. I was vaguely familiar from the real world of MTV, but he was on a lot of other shows. But so he started this off, and he really did want to just build a show that entrepreneurs could go on to. But it wasn't really about the show. He used the show and the competition as a way to educate. And it was just a different idea. It's what he knew how to do. He was very good at doing reality shows, and he knew that there was an iterative kind of pressure cooker system that will allow you to really learn the material. And so each day we would learn something from Wes. He'd teach a class, and then you had 15 minutes to synthesize everything you had learned there, and then create some kind of pitch or react to a game or a quiz or a whatever. And you had to do it all in front of everyone. And so there was a real battle, and there was somebody who was deaf on there. Actually, it was really, really interesting. There was a real battle to synthesize the information as fast as you could, really digest everything, and then pump out something that was entertaining, useful, and really showed you how to command of the information. And I think the format works great if you have that kind of competitiveness and you want to learn and you want to be there. I can't imagine a better environment for that to happen. And so I think he actually did a really good job.
So it's not necessary like these things that are going on. It's not necessarily even anything that's pertinent to you. It's basically the exercise of you going through, okay, this just happened. Now here's your task.
Yeah, and it's all business based, of course, though. So you're learning about so in your case, like what's your tech stack look like?
Yeah.
You're learning about how to keep customers in the funnel. You're learning how to, revamp your product for better traction, that kind of stuff. And then you take those esoteric kind of ideas and make them into working, models for your business. And then
So was
it's all competitive. So there's a prize at the end. You can win $10,000 if you're good at the games. I was terrible at the games.
was that's unfortunate, but also you're well past the seven-figure mark. So I
Well,
think
you're playing a different game, to be honest with you. I was playing a game where I really wanted to learn all the pieces. Like I said, I never got the mentorship because I broke up with Laurie and never really got to. I didn't do an incubator. I didn't do an accelerator. I've never had a business class, and so I really didn't. I mean, I'll sit in the meetings and I'll have people say words that I have no idea what they're talking about. Just full
yeah,
transparency. Like, what the fuck does
I
that mean?
think
And usually I just say, what the fuck does that mean? Is usually what comes out of my mouth.
but that honesty is important.
But I
I
don't
mean, that you learned.
I don't mind looking like a dumbass for a hot second.
What happened with Lori? The deal fell through or what?
Yeah, we was an amicable break. We just were like, she didn't know about a lot about camping, and I I uh I was fine with all of it. I had great mentorship from her husband, Dan, who's just a really terrific guy. They gave me a great like kind of exit interview and kind of put together this I don't call it, but just a report of how I might help the business and what I could do better. And it was really a great
That's cool.
experience. Like I said, I don't know if everybody gets that experience, but once again, it's like all things in life. You get what you put into it. If you are a dick and you don't jump in with them, what's their motivation to work with you?
Yeah.
So
That's okay. So yeah, I don't know if I missed that or what, but that's wild. I didn't even know. I mean, I guess that makes sense. That is an option. Obviously, they're successful business people. They know that sometimes that stuff's not going to work out. But with,
yeah, it's totally normal. I think Forbes did an expose on the whole they did a story on how Shark Tank works, and I was also surprised that they don't go with every deal that they shake hands on. That was actually, I got totally sideswiped by that, but
Yeah.
it also makes sense, I guess, if you think about how TV works.
Yeah.
It's
They
kind
kind of have
of
to at least get something out there to that's enticing. But when you this other show was called it's Blocks,
the
the
blocks.
Blocks.
Yeah.
Is it your cohort that you went through? Was it all entrepreneurs with a physical, tangible product?
No, in fact, there's only 3 or 4 physical products, and still, like I said, I think just over 100 people there. So 100 different companies
So
represented.
everything else could have been software or services and stuff like that.
So there was a guy, the guys who won, really interesting. The kid who won was 16. He makes a product called Nova Echo AI. It's a kind of a realistic voice language AI system for sales calls, that kind of thing. He won the game. He was very good at the game. Um, I will actually won most investable company there. But you had real players there. I had a woman who did 80 million one year.
Wow.
you had, general contractor businesses that were doing 12 million a year. You had big players, much bigger than me. So it was interesting to be in that room, in all those rooms with those kinds of folks. And of course the coaches who were there, many of them were well into the $100 million range.
So
So
if you don't win, is the idea obviously you're learning, but are there are I'm assuming some of these coaches and stuff are also venture capitalists and you can potentially get funding. Is that
yeah,
the idea?
yeah, funding exposure. So 4 teams get to win most valuable company, and 4 teams get to win most investable.
Wow.
And I was on one of the teams that or 4 companies, I should say, for brands, and one of my brand was one that got most
That is
investable.
so awesome, man. So when do you know when it comes out?
I
I,
don't. I am waiting to hear. I don't. I have no idea what the turnaround time is, but I did cry. I don't cry much. I did cry.
did you?
I was tired
Oh, okay.
because you go like 16 hours a day. It's a nonstop pressure cooker. I actually, like I said, I think the format is pretty brilliant. You don't learn like that. It's like total immersion for a foreign language. You just are all that's all you do for 6 days, and you don't go. I went outside twice, Zach.
That
Like, I
sounds
physically
miserable.
stepped outside twice. It was crazy. It
Wow.
was totally crazy.
That sounds so miserable. I mean, it obviously an incredible experience, but dear God.
Yeah, it's brutal. There were people who just did not. They had to go home. They're like, nope, not for me.
Yeah. Well,
It was
the
great.
what's you got the trademark. You're absolutely shitting on the guy who tried copying LavaBox, which I love. That's probably, if anything, that is probably my favorite. That and the tattoos is probably my favorite part about from a story perspective of everything that we've talked about so far.
That's how everybody does it. It's time for you to get your tattoos.
I'm trying to figure out what I feel like if I got some eyeballs tattooed on my eyelids, so I just all the time I had these just blank eyes staring forward all the time, like that could kind of throw people off,
That would
especially
be
at like
amazing.
at jujitsu tournaments and stuff. And they're already kind of psyched out because they don't find out until the last second that it's a blind guy, and then got
Right.
these fucking googly eyes tattooed on. But
I love it.
what's next? What's you got anything else big that you want to talk about right now that's up and coming?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I got a couple things happening. I can't mention a little bit about one of them. I'm about to launch another company that is in the outdoor space. Um, that'll be. Well, I'm probably about 6 months out, getting closer, finalizing website, that kind of stuff, and then I've got another project. I'm working on a wiki right now called Stokopedia.com, where
Nice, dude.
so Stokopedia is going to be a compendium of outdoor adventure sport achievement, where people are, and it'll be peer reviewed, so you'll be able to go on there and see who had the highest or the lowest base jump shoot deployment and lived, and read about it, and then decide if you want to try to beat it. So a little bit of Guinness World Records, a little bit of encyclopedia. But of course, that'll be an ad engine for me. I'll run ads there. Is how we'll monetize that. But yeah, I always wanted to go. I always wanted like a place to see like. I don't know if you saw. If like, did you watch the X Games? Any of the
Yes,
X
I love
Games?
that stuff.
That guy did a 2340, the first 2340 in competition on a snowboard, and so obviously that would get logged as an entry into Stokopedia, and he could hold that and make that claim, until, and of course it's all peer reviewed. So just that'd be interesting. So we're just like Wikipedia, but just for outdoor badassery.
I love that. And the name. I love the name, but as much as the idea, that's so cool. You're gonna end up with all sorts of obscure shit on there that you never knew was
I
a
can't
thing.
wait. Think
Yeah,
how funny it's going to be.
it'll
You'll
be
be
so
like,
cool.
let's see what happens. But the as far as LavaBox goes, my goal is to exit in about 5 years. My kids are my son will be out of school in 7. My wife, who works at the police department down in Denver, she actually will get a full pension at 55 in 7 years. And so I was like, man, let's exit LavaBox, sell LavaBox, and then I can work on my real passion projects. And one of them is working with Team River Runner. One of them is definitely working on Protect Our Rivers. And of course, I can't imagine I'll stop launching companies. So that would be
That was my
weird.
first thought. When you said that I'm gonna exit, I was like, you're not gonna be done. You're too busy. Like
Oh
you're
yeah,
someone who thrives on being busy, which is an awesome thing, but you're gonna have more projects forever.
never ends. I'm redoing a bathroom right now too. So
Nice. Sweet.
yeah, I gotta get the toilet in. Fuck. Yeah, that's the plan. I don't know what's next. I never know, man. Who knows? It's
That's the
like,
beauty of this stuff, though, is
yeah, I love it. I love it. I would really like to see LavaBox hit a really big number though. I'd be okay with that. You know, that'd be exciting. Because I look at Solo Stove, I look at these guys who have just been so important in the space. Solo Stove does 400 million a year. That's their annual.
were they
So
before you?
Solo Stove, oh yeah, long before.
Obviously, not ammo cans, but like that was a camping sto like a jet boil type of thing.
Solo Stove is the round wood burner. That's like a steel.
Oh,
It's all stainless steel, and they're beautiful. Very simple, very cheap to produce. They have been knocked off, but they really own the title of I think one of the most successful outdoor products of all time. And that I don't think I
okay.
know. And so I'd like to see LavaBox kind of transform into something like that, and I think it can. I think it's one of those things that could hit that 50 million mark. So you
Well,
see.
and I think people getting their hands on it too, and especially it's been years since I've had my hands on one, but if you are a mobile person, it's perfect. It's
Yeah.
manageable size, but also I don't know if you still have these, you had these like hollow ceramic stones in there that
Mhm.
weighed like nothing, but
Still part of the build. Of course,
okay.
everyone copied us on those too, but but yes, they're still part of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's our
it's
thermal mass, right? That's what really radiates the heat out. But at 280,000 BTUs, it's already a hot motherfucker. That's for sure. So
that's
stones or
so
no
cool.
stones, this is big ass fire.
Yeah, it's cool because you can do that and then you just throw it right back in your kit the next day and it's ready to go. You just throw the
Exactly.
lid on it and you're good.
Close it up and go. Now we
Yeah.
have dual burner systems as a cooking burner, and then the campfire burner. We have a new one coming out. Actually, it's on pre-sale now, just last week, called the Boombox. The Boombox actually has a Dutch oven inside of it, so you can cook inside it at 250 degrees, slow and low, or you can put it on top of the burner and cook on the top and bake like cookies and cakes and all that kind of stuff. So it's a dual burner system as well.
You
Cool.
should probably not refer to it as a Dutch oven. Do you know what the other connotation for what a Dutch oven is?
You can come over to my house and I'll show you if I know or not.
Tells you.
You come get in my bed, Zach, and I'll show you.
That's actually when I shot myself, I lost my sense of smell. So it's actually I think it's a big benefit
Oh,
with being blind, probably. Like as much as I travel, not being able to smell, I think is probably a
damn it!
real
I can't touch that
helpful.
one.
That I could roast you, dude. That'd be cool.
Yeah, No doubt.
Where
Fuck.
where should people go to find the
Yes.
boombox?
So go to fireanytime.com or lavaboxcampfires.com. Yeah. And then you can find us on Instagram, LavaBox Campfires. Please give us a like or follow on one of our platforms. I don't know if it really matters, but it sure validates people in certain people's eyes. We are validated as cool guys when we're on. We have a big following right now on Instagram. We also post a lot of stupid shit where we drive motorcycles through the fire and throw it off of cliffs and smash it with a monster truck. And so it's
Oh,
definitely
that's
worth.
perfect.
Yeah, it's worth saying. Well, I told you I had this giant shop. We set up jumps in here with like center blocks and plywood, and take the mini bike and jump through the fire. And yeah, so our
You guys
Instagram
need
is
to,
pretty awesome.
did you ever watch The Office?
Oh yeah,
You need to do like a parkour session, like the Office style in there for one of your videos, but
it it's
definitely
plenty of space.
I'll have links to all that stuff in the show notes. I know you already sent them to me. Go check out what he's doing. If you don't need one of the lava boxes right now, give him a follow. That does help small businesses grow. You got anything
Cost
else
you
you
nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And you get some sick ass Stokepedia worthy jump videos out of it.
There's some
So
good content on there. I'm not kidding.
what else, man? You got anything else?
Nothing else. I really appreciate you having me on. It was a fun conversation. I'm excited for you.
I'm
Doing
excited for
cool
you
shit.
too, man. You'll have to once the show goes live, once you know, let me know and I'll share it. I mean, I have a tiny following, but I'll share it around. And so
I'll
I
share it. I'll share it, and
okay.
maybe we'll make your following a little bigger.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I know you are ridiculously busy. I appreciate you taking the time. Also, appreciate you making the original logo for Dark Horse Game Studios. And just, I mean, everything that you've done, everything that you're doing these are all, everything that you mentioned is except Stokepedia is maybe not so impactful. That's culturally impactful, but all these other
Just
things
one.
are very just huge impacts and very important causes, and I appreciate you. So,
Stokopedia is just for fun. Thank you, brother.
yeah. And
All
thanks to
right.
everyone at home for listening to another episode of Going In Blind. Remember to follow, rate, and review the show wherever you listened. I'll see you next time.